Try it again.
Dedication.
Yes, word of the week is dedication. Everyone say dedication.
Dedication, sir.
All right, let's start with a working definition. What is dedication? Yes.
When you're
Focus on something, okay.
When you're committed to doing something.
I like that word commit. We're going to use that. Yep. All right, persistence certainly is a good key word. Judah.
You keep going even if you're tired.
Keep going when you're tired.
Passionate about one primary thing.
Passion. We're going to talk about that as well. If I forget, remind me. Yeah.
Dedication is similar to perseverance.
It is similar to perseverance. Certainly those words are correlated. Absolutely, promise. I like that word. Vincent always has great words. Anything else? All right. So dedication is unwavering commitment to a cause. Everyone say commitment.
Commitment, sir.
All right. We all know what that means, right? You can be committed to a lot of different things. Committed to a martial arts class. Committed to being a great student. Committed to getting straight A's in school. All right. Committed to your friends and family in terms of the choices and decisions that you make, right? We know what commitment is, right? Very fundamental. Now, I'm going to give you guys a couple things to think about as it relates to dedication. All right. Sit up straight. Pay attention. Eyes on me. Okay. All right, thing number one, all right, or key number one, right? Dedicate yourself to things that are compelling, fulfilling, right, or larger than yourself, okay? Dedicate yourself to things that are larger than yourself. The reason why is because we're generally more accountable to people other than ourselves, more than we are just ourselves, okay? So dedicate yourself to things that are compelling or fulfilling or have a sense of meaning to you. Everyone say yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Step number one, dedicate yourself towards things that are meaningful to you. All right. Dedicate yourself towards things that give you purpose. Right. Things that are larger than yourself. Right. An example would be being a great student. All right. Or being a great family member. Right. Or leading others. Right. Or potentially pursuing a career that positively impacts other people. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. Yes, now, thing number two, I want you to remember that dedication requires intensity. Everyone say intensity.
Intensity, sir.
Right? So dedication is not a passive process, right? Dedication requires a consistent thought and a consistent action, right, on a daily basis. Everyone say yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? So dedication requires intensity. It's not something that happens to you. Right? It requires meaningful action from you on a daily basis in order for you to stay on track with your goals. Say, understood.
Understood, sir.
Now, this intensity component is really, really important, and that's the part that people forget about intensity, right? So, when we think of intensity, intensity is like passion, right? Everyone say passion.
Passion, sir.
And someone used that word. Don't forget where passion comes from. Passion comes from the word suffering. Did you know that? Passion comes from the word suffering. Say suffering.
Suffering, sir.
Right? And you hear me say this all the time. You cannot extract pain from the formula of success. So, as it relates to the things that you're dedicated to, suffering is going to be a part of it. Say understood.
Understood, sir.
For example, if your goal or you are dedicated to earning your black belt, well, there's going to be some suffering associated with that. There's going to be times where you're tired. There's going to be times where you're sick. There's going to be times when you're in pain. You're going to have to do a lot of push-ups and sit-ups and running and strength and conditioning in order to get your body in the perfect position in order to pass your black belt exam. Right? So when we think of dedication, passion is another word that we think related to that, right? But don't forget, passion comes from the word suffering. You cannot extract that suffering component from the things that you're dedicated to. Just because you're dedicated to it, that doesn't mean it's all fun and it's all games and you're happy about it all the time. Say understood.
Understood, sir.
Right? Now, let's talk about this concept of dedication and intensity, or requiring intensity, right? So here's the deal. When people believe that you are dedicated to something, they're going to do one of three things, okay? I'll give you an example, right? I'll use Kennedy as an example, all right? Kennedy's dedicated to martial arts, right? We all know that. Everybody in her family knows that. Everybody in her life knows that, right? So here's what happens when people know that you are dedicated to something. They're going to do one of three things. They're either going to help you in the process, or they're going to get out of your way, or the result of that is they get ran over. That's what happens when people know that you are dedicated. That is what I mean when I say dedication requires intensity, right? But the third key is dedication, and that intensity associated with it is incredibly powerful, right? When people believe that you are dedicated to something, they do one of those three things, right? Either they aid you in the process, or they get out of your way, or they get ran over. That's what happens when people believe that you're dedicated. Now, you might say, well, people are standing in the way of me all the time. That's because they don't believe you, right? You know, people are always constantly standing in front of my way. People are always putting up obstacles for me because they don't believe that you are dedicated to anything. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
People
sir.
have to believe it, and once they believe it, that is exactly what will happen. Say yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Who's sitting up straight? Paying attention to Jay? Right? But look, none of this matters if you're not executing on these things. Right? How many different organization strategies does it take in order for you to get your life in order? The one you stick to. The one you're dedicated to. Right? And for most of us, it's not the strategy, right, the reason why you're losing. It's not the strategy. It's the execution. It's the commitment. It's the dedication. Right? Dedication is like the bridge, right, between where you're at and the goal that you want to accomplish. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Right? It's usually not the strategy. The strategy is great. I use fitness all the time. Right? You know what it takes to get fit. The question is, are you executing on the strategy? You know what it takes to get straight A's in martial arts. The question is, are you executing on your strategy? And if the answer is no, well, you don't deserve to get straight A's. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Right? But the goal is we want to align ourselves. We want to make choices, right? And dedicate ourselves to things that are meaningful to us and give us purpose. Martial arts might be one of those things, right? Some of you guys play other sports, soccer, football, tennis, basketball, singing, dancing, all of those things, golf, right? You want to align yourself with things that are compelling and motivating to you and dedicate yourself fully to those things. Yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, let's recap the formula, right? Dedicate yourself to things that are compelling to you, that are meaningful to you. Number 2, remember, dedication requires intensity, right? And then number 3, that intensity is incredibly powerful. When people believe that you are actually committed to things, that you are actually dedicated to things, they either help you or they get out of your way. The only reason why they're standing in your way is because they don't believe you. And the reason why they don't believe you is because your execution has been poor. Yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Close your eyes, meditate.